All right, we are live, and it is March 14, 2022. Crazy to think about. Exactly 2 years ago, this was the date that many countries announced state of emergency based on the pandemic of COVID-19. And now, 2 years later, episode 99 of Productivity Mastery. Uh, Pretty much thanks to the pandemic, we're here now. I wouldn't have started a podcast at all if it wasn't for all the working from home, all this kind of how can we create value if we are not able to meet people live. So uh, in some ways, it's been a productive experience in terms of the podcasting at least. And I'm here with somebody really, I would say, very similar in terms of understanding of productivity and understanding about entrepreneurship. Very excited to be here with Herman. How are you today, my friend?
Hey, Stoyan. It's such a pleasure to be here on your podcast. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Amazing, man. And I'm so happy that you took my 2 day offer, kind of like, hey, let's do it on Monday. It's going to be amazing.
Usually that's when things are the best, right? When they're just improvised and to the point, right? I love it. I love it.
And I love your shirt, man. It's very much on point with the
Thanks.
brand. So amazing. All right. So let's maybe give a bit of a context to the people who are tuning in right now, listening to the podcast and thinking, who's this Herman guy?
Yeah.
What is he doing? What has he done? So he's on the podcast. So give us a bit of a glimpse.
Perfect. So my name is German Coppola, and I was born in a very small South American country called Uruguay. And I've been pretty much living all over the place. I lived in Costa Rica and Guatemala and the States, and currently I live in Madrid in Spain. And I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 plus years. I currently have a company called Yumiwi, which is you, me, and we spelled wrong. That's how I usually define the company. And what we do is pretty much we capture, integrate, and clean event data so brands can make better choices and better decisions with their investment dollars. Pretty much, we track what's going on at events. We try to promote the brand as much as we can, but we also try to understand how it is that users and attendees are engaging with brand concepts, with brand strategies, and all this fun stuff. We capture a ton of data, and then we'll make sure brands are able to use it the right way. I also started a podcast like you, Stoyan, in the pandemic 2 years ago that ended up being a YouTube channel. So now I have my own YouTube channel where I talk about productivity, mindset, and technology. And it's been around for like a year and a half, I think. The YouTube channel is in Spanish, so you guys can go check it out if you want. And pretty much what I like to do is learn, teach. I am a mentor. I'm also a speaker, and I really like to understand how we can improve the way and the quality of life that we have through being highly performance and to understanding how to be more productive and to invest time wisely and not just invest time because we think time is just something we should be using to work. We should be using time for a bunch of other things, and that's one of the things I'm really focusing on and teaching people how to actually improve the way they invest their time at work and the time they have when they're not at work, how they actually use it. So that's kind of like my background right there.
I love it, man, and I'm more than excited to share with the audience that Herman is also going to be contributor to the Perform book, and it's coming out in Spanish in a few months. So we're just working on it right now, and he's going to be contributing with some different learnings and stories and insights to the book. So thank you so much, Herman, for
Oh, it's a
this
pleasure.
contribution. Pleasure working with you. But let's maybe start with this side of you. You mentioned productivity and you mentioned performance is something that's really important to you. What is for you mindful productivity? How would you define mindful productivity?
Well, I think mindful productivity is understanding how productive you are in that particular moment. Okay, so it's like mindfulness, right? Mindfulness, it's all about understanding the here, the now, the moment you are living, which is now, not the future, not the past, not to be thinking about those things, but thinking about how you actually engage in the real time you're living. And productivity is the same way if you think about it. When you try to be productive, and I say try because most of us try to be productive, sometimes don't make it, we're not as productive as we should. When you try to be productive, it's super helpful to understand that if you have a mindful productivity mindset, if you actually understand that being productive right now at this particular moment, avoid all kind of distractions around you, can actually benefit the state of flow you go in, the state of deep work you actually manage to tap into, and actually produce a lot better results for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So for me, mindful productivity is understanding how to be productive at this particular moment, this particular time, and actually not think about what's coming or the obstacles you may have ahead of you or the bad things you've done in the past. That doesn't matter anymore. Is what can you do right now to be highly productive, highly efficient, and achieve those goals as soon as possible.
Yeah, man, absolutely. This is one of the things I relate to you so much because I think sometimes people feel like productivity is about being boring and putting things in structure and just being efficient, which is people find it fine, but they think it's kind of boring. And I don't think that's the case. I think having a mindset of mindful productivity is really about living intentionally.
It
It's
is.
really
It is
about
actually. It's so different. Productivity has that bad rep, I guess, because it's like, oh, to be productive is to have an output of X amount of items per hour, kind of thing. It's kind of like a mechanical thing. People think productivity is like something you actually start doing and you just mechanical. You don't have feelings or emotions or anything like that. And no, it's not. It's completely the opposite. Your emotions and your feelings are actually the ones triggering all those distractions and all those things that don't let you achieve those goals. And it's not about being a robot. It's about really minimizing distractions and maximizing the output you're actually throwing out. And you don't get tired or burned out if you actually do it the right way. A lot of people get burned out at work because they're actually investing so much time to do something and they're not doing it with a strategy, or they're not doing it with the right mindset or using the right tools. And at the end, it just escalates to something really bad. You just get into this loop, of this negative loop of kind of like starting, I'm being productive, or I'm trying to be productive because I'm working 12 hours, 14, 15 hours a day. That's no way, man. There's no way your brain can be productive for such a long period of time. And it's been studied that we have very short attention spans, that we should actually focus on really short bursts of productivity in order to actually achieve those objectives. And that's when the beauty of it is. And if you want to really be productive and see productivity as something positive in your life, you should definitely understand that this is very short lived. It's something you got to do like short bursts, and then at the end, you're going to start seeing all those results. It's not about longevity of 14, 18 hours just because I'm working in the office and crashing it, and just it doesn't work that way. You end up burnt out. And that's not something you want to do.
There's a favorite quote of mine by Alan Lacane, the author. He said once, planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. And I wonder, Herman, do you have any specific methods or tools of how you set goals? How do you start with the long-term objectives and kind of bringing them into the day-to-day so they're more mindful?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a method per se, like, oh, this is the method I use. You have to be super flexible. So, one of the things I really like to do is understanding what my playing field looks like. It's like, okay, I'm going to be playing this game of an objective, of producing something, of closing this deal, or making this service platform, whatever it is that you're actually doing. Understand that you have a playing field. That playing field has different areas. Okay. So, you're going to be moving through that playing field constantly. And for me, it's not so much that I'm not very systematic and these are my to-do lists. And if I don't check every single checkbox, then I feel like crap about it. It's like, it's not the way I work. I pretty much try to see what the objective is and then kind of like reverse engineer the whole process. Be like, okay, how do I get there? And how long is it going to take me to get there? And actually something that I value a lot is, okay, if I really want to do this, how long is it going to really take me to actually achieve this? Because sometimes we don't ask ourselves that question and we're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna start doing this, and I want to finish. I want it done by next week. Yeah, but have you really thought about all the work that goes into doing it? And then when you don't achieve that goal, you get stressed. No, you get like, oh my god, I haven't done what I'm supposed to be doing. Why is this happening to me? And you start getting all crazy about it. And I believe that you should definitely understand how long is it that you're going to apply, understanding that there's a playing field there, and that when you have that playing field, you have to consider that all these other things are going to start, jumping into it, because you don't have control of your everyday. Even if you may think you have, there's going to be that email, that call from a client, that something that happens that you need to stop doing what you're doing to actually attend your business or attend something else, and you have to put all that into the equation. So for me, it's understanding if it's something that's going to be affecting. I look at my calendar, I look at how my week is, I look how my month is. If I know I'm launching a product or I'm launching something on my platform, I understand there's going to be all these like little things that I have to consider, and I have to understand that my clients also have a need for my time and other people too. So at the end, I have to put that into the equation. I kind of say, okay, this is going to take me anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks. And I usually do that. I give me that slack of time because I think it's important that you actually say between 4 to 6 weeks. Why? Because I know I could do it in 4 or in 6, depending on how much things, from the outside of my playing field are starting to play in the game. Um, I use tech. I use a lot of technology to actually kind of like, technology, let's say software, to actually make sure I actually get that done. But at the end, for me, it's planning out before I start doing anything. Then it's the process. For me, the process is the most important thing. If you don't fall in love with the process and what you do every single day, it doesn't make any sense, because the objective, if you think about anything you've done in life, when you actually reach the objective, it feels good for like 30 seconds and that's it. It's gone. So if you haven't enjoyed the journey, why the hell are you actually doing that? Because at the end, you actually want to, yeah, you want to achieve the objective, but you want to learn through the process. And the process has a lot of things that you could do to actually make it fun. One of the things I use every Sunday is what I call the Sunday meeting. So I do a Sunday meeting with myself and I sit down for like 15 to 20 minutes to kind of understand what it is that I want to do next week. So I don't wait till Monday, because I want to get into, the action Monday. I don't want to be thinking, what should I be doing or what are my priorities this week? I want to make sure that's on Sunday. Why Sundays? Because it's a day you're not mentally, you're not working, that your mind is not in the mindset of work. So you kind of like chilling at home. You get 20 minutes off and you can really consider what it is that you want to do next week. What are your priorities going to look like, and what kind of things you want to achieve? So I have that little Sunday meeting. And then every Friday, I have a thing that I called, or a strategy that I use, that is called the reverse gap. So the reverse gap is, this is from Vishen Lakiani in the Mind Valley. And on one of his courses, he talked about the reverse gap. And I find it so useful that every Friday you look back at what you've done this week, and you actually feel proud of everything you accomplish, of the process. You start falling in love with the process more. Instead of being so critical on the things you haven't done, look back and see all the good things you've done, all those meetings you closed, all the other stuff that you've been doing. So for me, really good techniques for your mind to actually get into the flow of productivity. Use something on Fridays to kind of like close down the week and be like, you know what? I feel proud of all this. What can I do? How can I improve other things? That's another method. But just feel proud about what you've done this week. And then on Sunday, just sit down and plan out what it is that you want to do. So for me, it's Sunday, it's like the start point, and Friday is looking back and feeling great about myself, feeling great about the things that I'm trying to achieve. So that's kind of like some of the strategies that I use to be highly productive.
Would you also recommend that to teams?
Oh yeah, I think every team should do it, because as a team you could actually really start detecting. One thing is that you detect the things that you think you did good, but when you actually put a team and they start talking about what the reverse gap was, it's a team effort, and sometimes they might start pointing out and pinpointing things that they weren't aware they actually done good, and that gives you a little boost of confidence, a boost of energy, a boost of motivation for the next week. So it's really important that you actually do that. Sunday meetings with the team is a little bit more complicated because I think it's more personal. But getting the team on Sundays, you should do those Monday meetings, you do those sprints, whatever. You kind of like get the people together and kind of like figure out where it is that you want to achieve that week. But make sure you have your own personal goal. And then if you do have a team, why not at the end of Friday, before you all go home, sit down, talk about, put on a whiteboard, what are the good things we've done this week? See how many of them match, and feel proud, have the little boost of motivation for the next week. Definitely do it with a
Absolutely,
team.
man. Otherwise, we always focus on what hasn't been done. These two things that we didn't manage to finish, to wrap up. And when you make this as a practice, you start celebrating. People
Hmm.
feeling appreciated. People, as you said, sometimes they forget or they didn't realize all the good things that they've done. And on the personal level as well. right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I didn't manage to finish these three things, but I've actually finished 17 that were really, really important. Amazing. And I'll probably add to the equation because I do something similar. I actually do my thing on Sunday as a one block. They do the Friday, Sunday thing. I kind of put them together on Sunday for the same reason, by the way, because Saturday you take a little bit of time off, so you're in a good place. Sunday with a cup of coffee, you sit down, and you're like, let me have a look at what have I achieved. And I also ask myself, what did I not manage to achieve, and why? Like, what did I
Hmm.
learn this week? Are there any new possibilities? So I literally have this set of questions, and I journal on them. Like, what are
That's
some of
awesome.
the opportunities that came out this week? All right, last week I was in Estonia. I met these great people, and I start writing, journaling,
Hmm.
and usually one or two really good ideas will come out of it. And now that I'm really kind of fresh, I have some great ideas and intentions. I get into, as you said, the planning side for the next week. I have a look at my longer term goals. What are my priorities for the month? And lately, I've been really into this idea of boiling down my priorities into only three. Because when I have 10 different goals and priorities, it's really hard for me to realize what is important. So I want to make my life simple. So it's like, okay, there's maybe a lot more goals, company wise, personal wise, but if I can break it down into what are the top three most important priorities, let's say for the business, right? What are the top
Yeah.
three priorities that I need to focus on, right? Somebody from my team might have three different priorities than mine, but what are my top three priorities? And then this also helps you to evaluate, right? I'm looking at the week and I'm like, did I make major improvement on the top three priorities this week? Oof, maybe these two I wasn't really good, right? So what do I have to do next week? How can I get better? Maybe I need some help. Maybe I need somebody from the team or somebody else to help me out. Okay, are these
Hmm.
priorities really important still, right? Because it might be that I kind of set the wrong priorities. So I might need to adapt them. So okay, now I know these are the top three priorities. Looking forward to next week. How do I make sure that I make major improvement on all these three priorities? What are the exact results? And I think that's another thing. I don't know about you, Herman, but for me, the biggest shift in terms of the productivity mindset, developing the productivity mindset was shifting from activities to results,
Hmm.
understanding the difference between doing something and getting something done, and starting with the end in mind. What is the desired outcome, right? Whatever it is you do, guys, the listeners, the audience, whatever it is you do, you got to have a clear idea. What is it that you want to produce? What is the desired outcome, right? You're going for a holiday, all right? What do you want to get out of it, right? Do you want to connect with a person that you love? Do you want to have a bit of fun time and recharge because you've been working really hard? I don't know. But whatever it is, if you're clear what's your objective, what's your intention, you might be able to actually come up with activities that will make this objective more realistic, right? So that's one point for me that's been a major kind of thing. I don't know about you, Herman.
No, it's so true what you're saying right now. And there's a system, or I don't know, call it a system methodology that's called, I don't know if you heard about it. It's called the stop, start, continue. And you kind of went over it right now, and it's really cool. I use that tool as well. The stop, start, continue is what you need to stop doing that is not helping you achieve your goals. That's one of the things you got to figure out. So you write down, okay, these are the things I got to stop doing. I mean, I've been procrastinating, I've been doing this and that. No, this is not going to happen. This is not actually contributing for me to achieve my goals. That's stop. Then start. What are the things that I need to start doing that I haven't started? Like maybe I should, even if it's the things, personal things, maybe it could be, maybe I should work out more to have more energy. Maybe I should read a little bit more so I can write that blog that I've always wanted to write. What should I start doing that's going to contribute, to my overall well-being and my overall productivity? And then continue, which is kind of like the reverse gap. Continuous, okay, what should I continue doing that's actually working? Okay, that's actually providing value to me. So it's stop the things that are harmful or not really doing anything good to you, Maybe you're like, I should stop watching TV before going to bed because it takes me another hour to fall asleep, and that means I don't rest enough, and that means I don't have the proper energy the next day to actually be productive. Okay, maybe I should stop doing that. So you go ahead and you stop. Make sure you change those habits by stopping doing something that's not contributing to anything. So start doing something that you actually feel it's, wow, I should definitely start doing this because it's gonna give me a lot of benefit. Maybe I should wake up earlier to read or meditate or do something like that. And then continue, which is, yeah, continue doing the things you've been doing great. So going to your point, I think it's super critical that you kind of like find your way, because I really don't like uh telling you or telling people or everyone that's listening, this is the thing you should do because it works. No, I mean, these are tips and tricks that you should definitely consider adapting to your personal life, adapting to the way you live and you work and you think, because we're all so different, and productivity cannot be something that's extremely stuck in a box. It has to be malleable and flexible. It's got to be something that adapts to you, and you don't have to adapt to it specifically. It should adapt to you, to who you are and what kind of life you have. So maybe you want to do stop start continues on Wednesdays. Great. Maybe you want to do it on Saturdays because you feel that Saturday is a day that you could actually be more reflective on, and kind of like consider things that you want to change. Or maybe you shouldn't do it. Maybe it doesn't apply to you. It doesn't really matter. The thing is, how do you change your habits? How do you actually improve who you are right now? Because even if you think you're doing great, you could always do better, and having that mindset of trying to always do better, I think it's super powerful because it always keeps you on the edge of trying to improve your productivity, trying to improve the tools that you use, trying to improve how you analyze things and how you view results and how you actually, customize your process or do your activities. So yeah, going back to what you're saying, I think I use the stop, start, continue, the reverse gap, and the Sunday meetings, and those are for me one of the three like very broad tools, but super powerful, super powerful.
And you touch upon a really important point, man. Talking about the mindful productivity mindset. That's why it's mindful productivity, right? Because you gotta be self-aware. You gotta be self-aware what works for you, and you can't just take a book and start using it blindly and take it as, this is what it is. This is how I should be productive. Maybe it works. Maybe it does.
Yeah.
It would be fantastic if it does, but it takes a lot of digging to understand who you are, to get aware about your lifestyle, the region that you live in, the size of your team if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're working for a company. Again, the whatever the context, but it comes down to self-awareness, understanding who you are, what works for you, but not ditching things from the get, maybe giving it, being curious. What is something that might work? Oh, that's a great strategy that Herman just shared. Amazing. Let me give it a try for a week or two. Let's see if that works for you. Let's give it with an open mind, and then we'll take it from there. What's your take on self-awareness? How important was self-awareness
Oh,
for you in
I,
terms of
it's critical. It's critical to be self-aware, and also it helps you kind of like pinpoint the things you're actually good at, the things you want to improve, and it helps you in a way if you're super self-aware of the things you're doing. It helps you look for options, look for alternatives to help you actually improve that. So being self-aware, I think it's everything. If you're not self-aware, it makes no sense. Humans are self-aware by nature, but we tend to forget sometimes things, and we tend to look so much into the future and try to like, oh man, I really want that, or I wish that couldn't happen, that wouldn't happen to me, or we're so afraid of what's coming that we're trying to control the future, which is something you can't control. And realizing that the moment is right now and being self-aware of the things that you have and how powerful you are as a person, I think that's the greatest gift you can have. So definitely something you should tap into and use your time. It's like, how do you invest your time for yourself? And that's one of my biggest questions I ask a lot of people is like, what do you do in the morning before you wake up, or after you wake up? Sorry, what do you first thing you do when you wake up? What is it that you do? You pick up your phone? Do you watch the news? What do you do? Because that's for me such a critical part of your day, if not the most critical. So, how is it that you start your day? Something you should be questioning right now, and seeing how you can improve it. It will be something that will definitely make you a lot more productive in the future.
And of course, everybody now is thinking, how is Herman starting his day? We want to know.
How do I start my day? Oh, my day is funny. I actually have I use a method. I don't know if it's a method. I just created it. I guess it was very inspired from the book, The Miracle Mornings. I don't know if you read that book, the Savers Method, which talks about doing certain things before you actually start working. And I have my take on it. I usually wake up at 6 in the morning, start at 9, have those 3 hours for myself. It's just, this is not about anything else but me. It's how do I enrich my life? How do I, make be healthy, eat a good breakfast, meditate, read a book, write, journal, always watch a course, learn something, because if you don't learn anything, you have to learn every day something new. And the best way to do it is actually, going online and subscribing to all these beautiful courses. You can have Skillshares and Mind Valleys and all these other platforms out there that teach you a ton of things. They're super super useful for many things in your life. So usually take 35 minutes to do a course, maybe an episode or lesson. I do a 25-minute meditation. I read. That's something for me is very important. Sit down with a book and just read, just kind of like chill out, read. I do some exercise. Okay. Used to go to the gym, but now pandemic stuff, so I'm doing it at home, which is great because I have more time to actually condense it. And then I do journaling as well. I do my writing, and pretty much my 3 hours. Then I go back into my house because I do this like next to my house, and I go back into my house and hang out with my kids before they go to school, and then help them get ready for school, take them to school, and then start my day. So I do have those 3 hours because I think they're critical. I think it's, if you think about, we've all seen the Olympics, right? We've all seen like Usain Bolt and all these amazing athletes get ready, for competitions. What do they do before they compete? They have their headphones on. They're super focused. They're jumping up and down. They're getting energized. They're mentally looking at their run. This is how I'm gonna run. This is how I'm gonna start. They get ready. They get prepared to do that thing, which is their job, which is to run or to get that medal, whatever it is, the swimmers, etc. How do you start your day? Because if you just start your day and you wake up, you get your phone, you get dressed, and you start working, there's no preparation. Okay. So that mindset that you need to have in order to actually get ready for your day is like, how do you prepare your mind, your body, and everything else to start working to be super productive? Because sometimes we're in such a rush that we don't think that's important. And actually, it is. You'll be super productive, a lot more productive if you take some time off for you, or in the mornings you have those hours. And people's like, I don't have time. Well, wake up earlier, go to sleep earlier. You do have time. That's an excuse. It's just, for me, it's a cheap excuse. It's an obligation that you should actually be considering. The time is there. You have to learn how to use it wisely and invest some time in yourself, because then you'll start your day so much more relaxed, so much more focused, so much more understanding what it is that you want to do that particular day, how you want to achieve it. So for me, those 3 hours are critical. And it's all about me, myself, my body, my mind, and my learning. And then organizing my ideas and my thoughts to actually get it done, to get my day, and sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes you have a bad day. Sometimes you wake up tired, and all that kind of stuff. And we know how we know that you can't be highly productive when you not have a good night's sleep, or you have a couple of days that you're stressed out because of a project or something going on with a client. I mean, those things are okay, and we're not perfect. We're not machines, and we should actually take all that stuff into consideration as well when we organize our day and we plan out our weeks. So that's kind of like how I organize my day. How do you do it, Stoyan? How about you? What do you do the first thing that you wake up in the morning?
But there's
I'm
a
putting you
bunch
on
of
the
different
spot,
things.
man.
No, no, please do, man. There's a bunch of different things, and I will get back to what you mentioned at the beginning, that you gotta know yourself. For me, I'm not a kind of guy that will stick to the same exact routine every single day. I wake up and I kind of feel like, but I have a bunch of different things that I like to do. Reading business books, it's kind of like a passion of mine. Business slash personal development, but mainly kind of business leadership books. And I'm really into books based on experience. because in early 20s I was reading all these personal development theory kind of books that, like, okay, it's great to begin with them, but then at some point it's like it's the same kind of thing.
Okay.
So I'm really into reading business books, but it's kind of like a 15-minute reading the book. Meditation, I like to do vipassana. So vipassana is actually this ancient technique. You can sign up and you can get a 10-day silent meditation retreat in many places all around the world. I did that before. I'm not doing like a 10-day meditation at the moment, right? But like I use the technique for like 15 minutes in the morning. And lately, one of the things that I started to embrace more is actually having a morning walk before everybody wakes up. Like early in the morning, I go for a walk, um, maybe get a cup of coffee, and I put on my headphones, and either I will listen to some ambient music that is just like ambient, right? Or
Yeah.
or I listen to some audiobook or like a podcast. And just going for a walk, walking through, there's a park nearby my place. So that's another thing I do. Journaling, right? And I took that from Tim Ferriss. He had this thing called the morning pages, which is basically you just dump everything there. Meaning, mm, you wake up, you're not feeling okay, you are over whatever. Like just write about it. This guy really annoyed me, like whatever, right? You just write,
Yeah.
just and 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 I'm just unloading, right? I want to start a day fresh. I want to start a day with a clear mind. All right, let me dump it there. The second part is the gratitude journal. Once I dump all the stuff, I write down 10 things I'm grateful about every
Great.
day,
That's
right?
awesome. That's
What I
awesome.
think things, and sometimes it's like yesterday I received a great email. I had a great podcast with Herman. I am healthy and alive. The people around me are healthy and alive, right? Like this, there could be something very specific. Doesn't matter. I need to program my mind, because by default our mind is seeking for the negative, for what is
Yeah.
potentially a threat or a danger, so I can fix it so you can survive, right? We don't live in the caveman times, but still there's a long way to go for our brain to evolve, and we need to, on a daily basis, switch from this kind of a more negative perception towards the positive solution based one. So that's what I'm trying to do. But I don't do 3 hours. I probably do up to an hour. Well, if I include the exercise, that would be more. But I exercise sometimes different parts of the day. So, but for the morning part, this definitely I don't do it every day. I wish I can say to the podcast audience, hey, I'm doing it every day. I don't. But when I do, I feel so much better, man.
Oh, it's
It just
beautiful.
you're
Yeah.
just calm, man. Your mind is calm. You're focused. You probably get inspired by all those things. Like either you listen to a podcast, you read a business book, you meditate, you get all these ideas flowing. It's, as you said, it's like an exercise for the mind. We're exercising our bodies, but not so much the mind, right? And that's what we
Yep.
need. We need this morning hour, or 3 hours in your case, to really dig into uh, becoming more mindfully productive afterwards,
Yeah.
right?
No, I completely agree. I use 3 hours because most of it, like 45 minutes, it's courses. I'm doing lessons and I'm learning a lot. So I'm trying to condense all that in the morning. So then the rest of the day, I really had to. I have 3 kids, so for me, it's okay. The rest of the day has to be what I'm trying to achieve, produce all my goals. Then like at 1:30, I go pick up my kids. I walk through the park with my dog. I pick up my kids in school. They eat at home, and then I take them back. So it's really nice that walk with a dog. It's just kind of like, gets me to that breaking the day in half. And then in the afternoon, they usually have like all these extracurricular activities. My kids, I have to drive them to volleyball, to soccer, and all this other stuff. So I really try to condense my learning time in the morning because for me, it's still my time. Even though there's a lot of things I learned for business and it's applied to my business and the things that I'm doing, it's still for me very important because it's not the pressure to learn. It's just something that just flows, for me, and it's great. So I think it's one of the most valuable things I have. It's never stop learning. It's one of my mantras, and you should never stop learning. And the best way to do it with all these awesome tools that you have right now, is actually get online and find stuff that's actually going to teach you stuff that you want to learn, or you've always wanted to learn. And journaling is really cool. I have this app that I use also. It's called the 5 Minute Journal. It's been around for a while, and it's really small, concise, to the point. So I do some dumping, like you say, as well in the morning. But sometimes, like, that little journal for me is like, because it's all like daily affirmations and like what are you thankful for, and it's really like to the point, like bullet kind of thing. So it's like, oh, I want this, boom, 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 boom. So I go ahead and do that in the morning, and then at night you kind of like, what were the highlights of your day? How can you improve your day a little bit better? And usually fill that out before going to bed. And it's good because it refreshes everything you've done in a way, and you kind of like go through the whole process of, oh, I should have done this, or I could have improved here. So that little stop, start, continue we talked about, you could actually do it, and that's technology. I mean, that's using your phone for very productive stuff as well.
And let's maybe dig into that part. Technology. How do we use technology in a mindful way so it helps us to be more productive as opposed to being more distracted? What do you do?
Yeah, well, first, your phone is the biggest distraction that you can have in the world right now. I mean, it's incredible how much we pick up our phones over like 150 times a day. We're always looking at stuff. The first thing you got to do for me, and this is something I started doing like 9 years ago, it's remove every single notification from your phone. Like, I have no notification. If you send me a WhatsApp, I really have to go to WhatsApp to see if there's any WhatsApps to read. It's not. I don't get notified either through my Apple Watch or anything like that. I don't get notified of anything that can actually bother me or take me out of that state of flow when I start focusing on something. So avoid distractions at all costs, and your phone is one of them. But also, your phone is probably your biggest ally of productivity. So you really need to learn how to use your phone. And a couple of things that I could tell you that I've done is how I arrange the screens on my phone, first of all. So my phone, let me see, let me show you. It'll be easier. So the first thing you see on I don't know if you can see, hold on, let me put it in this hand. So the first thing you see on my phone, it's that screen is pretty much me. It's meditation apps, music apps that get me in the state of flow. There's a huge quote on the first one. I have a widget which is, I'm determined to maintain a state of happiness. That's the quote of the day. It's an app, and every day it changes the quote, which is, I love it, because I read that kind of stuff and I do my journaling here. My 5 minute journals there. Then my next screen is all about working out. So it's all about sports and how the weather is outside. If I'm going to go on a bike ride, if I'm going to go running, if I'm going to be doing stuff, it's my health, my body. And then the third, it's all about apps that teach you something. It could be audiobooks, it could be courses. So it's my mind. So for me, it's like the first part, I guess, is like the mindset or being super mindful and aware, self-aware, which is meditation and doing all this kind of stuff. The second one is the body, moving your body, and then linking that motion with my mind. So then I use a bunch of those apps to maybe, a lot of them are book summaries too, which I use, very useful to see if I want to read the book. So I go through the book summary first, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Okay, I'm gonna go buy the book and read it. It's worth the time. It's worth spending the time. So I still have to see perform on the book summary, but I've read the book, but it should be there. And then I just kind of like go on in all my widgets until like you hit, I don't know, like the eighth screen. That's where you have WhatsApp and the distracting Slack and Signal and all those things. That's where I actually keep them there. I use another app called Forest, which I think is a great app. I should definitely if you guys can check it out. It's a beautiful app. It's really well designed, and pretty much what it does is you click on it, and it doesn't lock your phone, but if you leave the app, it kind of punishes you because you're growing a tree. So when you press concentrate for 30 minutes, it starts growing a little tree. Okay. And then you have a forest, which I call my forest of productivity. So when every 30 minutes, they plant a little tree. If you leave the app, they plant a dead tree. So it's kind of like you left, you did not accomplish what you're supposed to do. So it's gamifying productivity. And it's a way of, sometimes you forget, you pick up the phone and the app says, hey, leave me alone. It says messages like that. Go back to work or something like that. You're like, oh crap, yeah, the tree. I don't want to kill the tree. I'll check that message later. I'll do that later. And you keep focusing and you avoid those distractions. So using those kind of tools are kind of fun, and they're different. It's kind of like the Pomodoro technique, but with the tree, and you have your breaks and all that kind of stuff with it. So that one's really useful. I use it a lot. And then I use two apps to concentrate. Well, actually three for music. One is called Brain FM, which I think is an extremely useful app to get into that flow of music, no words, no singing, just kind of like get into the flow of depending if you want to go do deep work, if you want to meditate and stuff like that. It has great tracks. Then Calm is another app I use a lot. They have really good music as well. And they actually have guided meditations too, if you want to check it out. And then the one that I really like is a little bit repetitive, but it's all scientifically proven. It's called Endo, and Endo, pretty much what it does, it puts you in that state of mind, that brain waves, where you should be super focused and super hyper focused and stuff like that. So I use those three apps. I use these headphones. I have them on me, and pretty much there's noise canceling. The reason I bought those is because they're the ones that keep your ears. What's it? Yeah, there you go. They're great because I read all the reviews, and these are the ones that keep your ears colder for the longest time. Because usually when you have those headphones on for like more than 20 minutes, you start getting itchy around the ears, and then that's distracting. You don't want to be itchy around your ears and be like, oh man, this thing's kind of like bothering me. And these things are actually really really good. So they're expensive, but they're good, and productivity for me is everything. So I did spend some of my money there. And I usually, that's kind of like the tech that I use around me. My desk, the setup is super minimal. I mean, you can't really see it now, but I barely have anything on it. Maybe I have a couple plants, one pen. That's it. One single pen, a charger, and then I do have my cameras and lights and mics. But pretty much that's all I use. And then I use this beautiful tool, which I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Remarkable. It's a little note, like it's like a Kindle kind of thing, but you write on it, and it's, for me, one of the best tools that I just actually got it in December. And it's incredible to write all your ideas down, and it feels like you're actually writing on paper. The battery lasts forever because it's actually black and white. All you do is write. The only internet connection it has is to kind of like sync your files if you want to look at your files on the phone and stuff like that. But you can't go online, you can't go to Google, and nothing like that. It's for writing. It's for you to actually dump your ideas, plan your things out, and it's a beautiful piece of tech as well. So those are kind of like the things I use. How about you? What do you have
Just
that's
just one thing,
interesting?
to kind of point out. I also love many of these apps. Actually, Brain FM. Been a user and recently became a partner. In a way, I want to be. I'm talking about Brain FM everywhere, so I was like, why not? Why not actually get in touch? They actually got in touch with me. So those of you who are listening, who wanna check out the app, if you go to Brain FM /Stoyan as my name, and then if you use my name Stoyan after the free trial, if you guys like it, you can get a 20% off of the price of either the monthly or the annual. I'm a user, big time user, love the app, and
Great app.
now you can actually get a bit of a percentage. I'm also an affiliate, so I also get some percentage. So fair deal, but really really love the app. As the others that you mentioned, Calm is actually great. Um, Remarkable. I haven't tried this one though. I've seen many people use it. I need to see it. I need to try to see if it works for me, or if it's gonna be something that I'm gonna do for a couple of days and then. But you saying that it actually works for you.
Oh yeah. For me, I think it's instead of having so many. I used to write a lot on notebooks, so instead of having so many notebooks, especially if you're traveling, you can. It's really easy because you can create folders, you can create notebooks inside, and then you can have your notebooks. So and it writes really nice, and I think it's a great piece of tech. Also, if you handwrite and it learns how you handwrite, you can actually press a button and it transcribes everything to like written text that you can actually copy paste and throw it on an email or something like that. So that's kind of cool as well. If you're writing a book and you like to write and not write on your computer, it's really easy to actually transform that into like normal text, like computer text kind of thing. And I just think it's great, the feeling of writing on it, and just how it flows. I think it's one of the best pieces of tech that I've had in a long time. I was skeptical too because I've been seeing it for a long time. This is the second version. I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. If it writes like paper, is it something I would use? And then at the end, I said, you know what? I'm going to buy it. I had a friend of mine that had it, and I didn't get to test it, but I asked him, and he's like, this is the best thing I bought. I love writing, and for me, it's great. It writes super nice. There's no lag, no delay. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'm really happy with it, so I highly recommend it. I'm not an affiliate or
Okay.
anything like that, but I highly recommend it.
No, for sure, man. For sure, I'll give it a try as well. So thanks for recommending. And you mentioned the first few pages of your phone. By the way, this is really interesting and inspiring. The shutting down all notifications, but also the first three pages of your phone are connected to your growth and personal development. But I'm curious, the page or the part with apps related to inspiration and content. What is it that you, is that like Audible, is that some podcast, like what are the apps or the places that you have in terms of content?
Oh yeah, I'll share with you some. I have. All right, so one of my favorite apps for podcasting is Wondery. I don't know if you've heard about Wondery. I think Amazon actually bought this company. It was a ex Fox person that actually build the podcast. So Wondery is an app that has a ton of podcasts, but the difference is the podcasts actually sound like if you're watching a movie. So if they're saying and this person's walking down the street, you actually hear the footsteps and they actually make the whole sequence. And you actually have people dialogues, and there's two or three or five voices dialoguing. And inside there's a bunch of podcasts. There's one that I really highly recommend. It's called Business Wars, and it's all the history about Nintendo versus Sony and how did that happen. Like I don't know, and Lego versus, and it's just all these big brands, Coke versus Pepsi, and all these big, and they actually go through history, and they do like a sequence of maybe 12 episodes, and actually tell you how all those business wars came on to be, like the electricity one, and there's a bunch of them. There's such great production that it's so. If you're walking, Stoyan, when you go walking in the morning, check out Wondery, because you'll probably be like, holy man, this is really nice. I'm walking down the street and I'm hearing all these voices, all these dialogues, and it's kind of like you're in a movie. So I use that. I use Uptime, another app which is summary of books. I use Mentorist. Mentorist is kind of cool because it makes you Uptime, Mentorist, Lucid is another one that's very similar. They have book summaries, but they have a little twist on it, which is you get engaged with what they're actually telling you. So there's kind of quizzes and stuff like that you do with the knowledge that you're learning. So you kind of like, usually you tell me and I forget, show me and I remember, involve me and I understand. I love that quote. And when you involve somebody even more, they understand the content a lot better. They're able to actually digest it easier. So I use that. Skillshare is one of my favorite ones as well. Medium for reading blogs. Nebula, Mentor Box, Headway, Audible, and Curiosity Stream. Those are kind of like the ones I have on my screen right now.
Man, I can clearly see now why you have like a three hour morning routine. Like this is so much you need to go through, but it's
I
really
can't get
inspiring.
bored, right?
No,
There's Matt, have you seen Mind Valley? I love Mind Valley, and masterclass.com for me is very, very, very good tool as well. Yeah. You get all these big actors teaching you. I actually took a couple courses from acting, understanding how it is that you communicate and express emotions and feelings, and you can actually translate a message through the power of acting. And they show you how they actually do this, and you can actually bring that into your own personal business life, and how you communicate with your team, how you communicate with your clients, how you communicate your brand, your image to the world. It's also very, very like acting, so in a way, all these acting strategies that they teach you is super, super insightful. So masterclass, I love watching it, because I mean these are top people. But you also have like Daniel Pink, which wrote To Sell Is Human, and you have all these other authors that are great and teach you how to write. They teach you how to do short stories or storytelling. At the end, you got to learn, if you're going to be selling yourself or selling a product, you have to learn how to sell, and the most efficient way to sell is through stories. So if you become a good storyteller, then I highly, highly recommend you take some of those masterclass courses for sure.
and this is part of the whole mindset of mindful productivity, is this commitment to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep getting inspired for the best people out there, right? Like, who are the
Yeah.
best actors out there? If you want to learn some acting skills, who are the people who's done it for years and years, and then you have access to everything. I mean, these days we have access to everything, right? Starting from the YouTube, from all these masterclass courses, you can get mentors, you can read books. It's incredible. And
Yeah.
curation of content is of course becoming more difficult, but just having in mind who are the people who actually have done what I want to learn, and can I learn from these people? And this is you're a great living example, Herman, of, of this yourself. in the last in the last let's say 12 to 24 months, what are the first three business or personal development books that come to mind that were really transformative, really thought provoking for you?
Oh wow! In the last 12 months, in the last year, oof, good one. I would say that I reread Atomic Habits from by James Clear. I've read it before, but I kind of like after getting into this whole productivity mindset, I decided that I should definitely reread it again with another mindset, understanding how habits could actually transform the way you are productive. And I think that book has really impacted me a lot in a very, very positive way. I've learned a lot of new insights that usually when you read a book again and again, two or three times, you always learn something new from it, you know. And when you actually come across something that actually impacted you the first time, I highly recommend you reread it maybe after 6 to 8 months. Reread it again and maybe read it again. One of those books, you know. Napoleon Hill for me, Think and Grow Rich. That's I think one of the masterpieces, and it's something you should definitely read again. It keeps impacting me every time I read it. It's a weird book because I keep finding things that sometimes I even question myself: have I read this book or not? Because I've read like 3 times, and I'm like, wow, but this is completely new for my, maybe because you grow, your mindset grows, and you know you kind of like get to understand these things. And from a book standpoint, I think those two things are huge for me. And then from people or from mentors or stuff like that, I really learned from a group that I belong in, a group called 40 Plus League, and these guys are they're Latin Americans, and they were, the company was formed in Spain. Most of them were Latin American members, ex corporate people that are right now out into the world after 20 something years working in big corporations, and they're kind of have to reinvent themselves. Okay. So they have all these skills, but they've never been an entrepreneur. And it's kind of interesting to see how these people are actually, you know, reshaping their future from all the knowledge. And I get super inspired by all these highly executives that these guys are like top notch from their industries and really big companies. And now they find themselves like, okay, what do I do now with my life? You know, I'm 50 or 45 years old and I don't work with that big company anymore. I've been in that platform system for the past 20 something years. What now? How do I become an entrepreneur? How does that work? You know, and it's really interesting to understand. And I get inspired by that because for me, one of the biggest learning things is, wow, it's interesting that you think that people that have big corporations, they work at big corporations, or like the marketing director of Coca-Cola and stuff like that, whatever it is, they actually have it figured out. But actually, when they become an entrepreneur, they have no clue how to actually get the wheels turning because they've never been in a system where everything depends on themselves. Everything has to be done by their own, you know, effort, and the things that you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing business and what's your business model, what's your logo looking like. You don't have people around you to help you out with that, and you've been so used to that. And it's really inspiring to see how they're transforming themselves, and inspiring to see that, you know, it's okay if if you look at the corporate world as, wow, that's cool, but also look at entrepreneurs at, wow, that's cool. Because if you are an entrepreneur, if right now you're actually having doubts of being an entrepreneur, you shouldn't. And I really get inspired by that because you are your own boss, and you could actually make it happen if you have the right mindset, if you have the right tools, if you have the right productivity skills. But you really need to tap into that first and understand that, well, maybe it's easier to go get a job. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's easier in the short term, but maybe in the long term, if you are an entrepreneur, you're going against who you really are. And that really inspired me this whole last, you know, year and a half since the pandemic. I really got inspired by this group of people, and it helped me get my podcast out and my YouTube channel because I really understood the value more than ever of what an entrepreneur is and what being an entrepreneur is like, and everything that goes into being an entrepreneurship. It's not a young guy in a garage trying to change the world. Yes and no. At the same time, is you trying to not maybe not change the world, but you're trying to provide value to the world in a sense. It's not so much the big picture of changing the world, like I don't know, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or those big guys. Elon Musk is doing. Yeah, there are changing, shifting the way the tendencies and things are happening in the world. But you as an entrepreneur can actually impact a small amount of people, but very powerful. And that has a lot of value in it. And you should actually consider that as your biggest reward as an entrepreneur. Not so much the money that comes with it or anything like that, but how you're going to impact your community, the people around you. And that's for me has been super inspiring to actually keep pushing forward and actually open up new venues of things, becoming a speaker. Okay, how can I teach this to the world? How can I have my YouTube channel and people actually learn more and I can help them or actually provide that little bit of value that actually going to change their lives a little bit more and become more productive and more efficient and be happy and live a fulfilled life. So I think that's been my biggest inspiration. It hasn't been somebody, but it's been a group of people that by their ideas and the way they've been living and the way they were raised, and now they have those challenges, and you look into yourself saying, wow, me as an entrepreneur could also impact people as well, like corporations do. And it's not so much about the volume of it, but it's not the quantity but the quality of your impact as a person, as an entrepreneur, and the people around you. So I think that's my biggest take on being an entrepreneurship. My biggest take on the last year and a half, which has been tough for us because we do events and all our events were canceled, so we had to restructure a whole company and really got inspired by all these people that actually went through the same process of mutations, I guess, in a sense of becoming butterflies. So yeah, it's been great. That's for me
And
one of the
you're
biggest
making
inspirations.
a really important point, the power of being surrounded by the right network of like-minded people that will back you up, that will support you at points, challenge you,
Hmm.
open up doors, connections. So those of you listening, if you haven't thought about joining a business club or creating your own mastermind group or in any shape or form, really really important to be around on a consistent basis like-minded people, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're going against the flow, right? Like it's it is not easy to be entrepreneur, especially if you're first time founder. It is very very difficult. You might want to check out how to set up a mastermind group, check out who are the business clubs in the region, or maybe find some of them online, find a place where you can get the support that you need, be around like-minded people. And Herman, you mentioned the last year and a half, it hasn't been really easy for you guys, which I can imagine in the event industry. And if we look into the whole global situation, the last couple of years, literally 2 years ago on this date, the pandemic officially started.
Hmm.
It's been really uncertain times. The last few weeks we've been, again, it's March 14, 2022. So the last couple of weeks, there's a war in Ukraine, pandemic is still going on. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. Um, and last time we had a conversation, we were speaking about what do you do when you're not feeling it, right? I mean, we talk about productivity, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just wake up and you do not feel like doing anything. And it could be a lot of different factors, right? It could be the external factors, the global situation. It could be you've just been working really, really hard for a couple of weeks and now you can really, you're just exhausted. But anyway, what do you do on these so-called low energy days?
Oh, great question, actually, because part of being productive is understanding that you're not going to be productive as you have planned out every single day. And sometimes you wake up bad, or you feel bad, or you ate something bad, or you didn't sleep good, or you feel pressured by the external factors around you. In my case, with a pandemic, it was really hard. We felt pressured a lot to change the industry, to change how we were doing events, and we couldn't do much about it because We were in a lockdown and we couldn't actually get things done. So for me, I do three things because I really believe that even if you're feeling bad, you should do something. Okay, the worst thing you could do is get in the couch and watch Netflix. I mean, don't do that. Okay, at least you could do that maybe later on, but at least get 3 or 4 hours to actually do something that's going to be a little bit more productive. It's going to get you those gears started. I do three things: I think, I read, and I write. Those are the three things that are on my list when I don't feel good at all. Because I'm like, okay, if I'm not being productive, I feel a little sick, or I feel a little bit pressure, or maybe burned out, or whatever it is that I haven't managed my time correctly. I start thinking. I start thinking about things that I could do to improve, things that I want to be done in my company, just kind of like a brainstorm, nothing very specific, but I really start thinking about it. Then I start writing. Okay. I really start writing about, okay, these are the things I've wanted to do. Or I want my life to change this way. And I just start kind of like brainstorming on things around me that could actually improve me as a person. And then I read. I just sit down instead of watching TV and say, I'm going to start reading a book. I'm going to start getting inspired. I'm going to start getting motivated again. I'm going to start getting that little kick of energy and motivation coming in through the author, through their thoughts and stuff like that. So I try to do that. And if I'm really, really low, I go on YouTube and start watching motivational videos, like one of those like really powerful videos that has energy and music and just kind of like gets your blood flowing, and you're like, oh, I feel good now. Okay, great. But I usually have that, again, going back to my playing field, there's certain parts of the field that are low energy days. They're just not productive as, oh, I got to be doing this and calling the client and answering this email and doing the proposal. Maybe I don't feel good that day. So I'll read, I'll write, and I'll think. Those are the three things that I highly suggest anyone do, at least for an hour, hour and a half. Start slow. I mean, I usually do it for 3 or 4 hours when I don't feel good. And then the rest of the day, I kind of take it off to just kind of like, okay, restructure myself and reframe things so I can actually wake up the next morning and actually feel a lot better. But yeah, think, read, and write. Those are the three things I use.
I'll just add something on top of this as well. These are great suggestions. What I like to do is, if I didn't see it coming, let's say I wake up and I had planned previously this day with many things to do, follow up to clients, so on and so forth. Then I wake up, I'm not feeling it, right? Um, the first thing I want to do is have a look at the list of things and just see if there's something super urgent that cannot be postponed. Right, there's something that needs to be sent until 10 in the morning. Can I postpone it? And if I cannot, just, what are the 1, 2, 3 items I need to do no matter what? Okay, let me define them. Let's see if I have to postpone something, write somebody, I'll get back to you tomorrow. So all the managing expectations, that'll be the first step, and I'll calm down a little bit. And then I have a bunch of things, because there's some periods that are really, really busy, right? So I have a bunch of kind of things that I can do even on low energy days. So that could be a little bit of administration, the accounting from this trip, like some of those things that you don't need to think so much. It's more like something
Yeah,
like, clean up the apartment, right? What are the things that you can do without having to spend a lot of mental energy? And then I will agree with you. It's really important to accept it and to not let it make you feel guilty, right? That's the point, because you're feeling guilty. Oh, I had so many things to do, I can't do them, and you beat yourself up. This is not okay. That it's not good. Doesn't matter if you're feeling like this. Don't feel guilty. That's okay. And it's hard to, it's
totally
easy to
agree.
say, it's hard to do, but like, don't feel guilty. Just make a plan. Okay, I had a plan A, didn't work. Plan B, I'm gonna go for a walk, listen to motivational videos, I'm listening to podcasts, and these are the three things I need to do no matter what. All right, I don't have to do it in the next 2 hours. Let me first do something, right? Go get a freshly squeezed juice from the local shop. Do something for your energy so you can raise yourself up a little bit, and then you can come back and do these 1, 2, 3 things, and just appreciate it, celebrate it, right? Like, hey, I have a low energy day, and no matter what, I still did some things, right? But there might be some really, really, really low energy days that you don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like
That's
doing
true.
anything, and that's also fine. But you just have to make this acceptance and say, hey, um, I'm gonna take full day off. Let me
Yeah, but
write the people
you
that.
should definitely look at why it is that you're having that such bad day, because then it could trigger something from not managing your productivity right, not maybe managing your body right, your mind. So at the end, usually when I have one of those days, that the Netflix days, that you're like, okay, I don't, that's it. No, I don't want to read or write or anything. It just really want to forget about the world. I do question myself, okay, why? What has happened to me in the past 10, 15 days to actually get me to this point, to this low point, you know? And it's good to actually understand it. Just be like, I'm not gonna judge it. I'm just gonna understand that this happened to me because maybe I overdid all this stuff in the past week. Okay, I'll learn, lesson learned. I'll try not to do it like this, so I won't have these such low energy days, you know. So it's also important to actually look back, even if you have a bad day, and if when you have a good day and everything just works and flows, also do the same thing. Why is it that I was in such a amazing state, you know, and I was able to produce so much and feel so good about myself and be so productive with my clients and everything? What happened? What did you eat? How did you sleep? What kind of things happened to you the week before, the weekend? You know, it's like, because that can give you the power to understand what you need to do to trigger those things again. And if you manage to trigger those habits, you manage to trigger that emotion, then obviously you'll become highly productive constantly. You feel good about doing it. So it's always it's going again to being self-aware. What has happened to you in the past week that made you feel so crappy? What has happened in the past week that made you feel so good? You know, and actually go through it and study it and understand who you are and what's going on in your environment. Maybe your toxic friends are not helping you a lot, or you know, you need to kind of get rid of that and get into another cycle. Like you said, you know, find a group of people that are like-minded, that want to learn, and entrepreneurs, and that want to help each other out. You know, and that kind of vibe is what you need. So look into your life as well, because not it's not everything being productive as a system, but it's also how you live your life affects how you produce things in your life.
And this is a good way to wrap up this episode. We both agree that mindful productivity is really like a lifestyle. It's a mindset, it's a lifestyle, it's a commitment to produce results while enjoying the journey in a very intentional manner, getting better, accepting, appreciating your mistakes, learning from them, and moving forward. So thank you so much, Herman, for being with us. Thanks everybody who tune in, listening to episode 99. Uh, Obviously, there's 98 more episodes, so make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend that really could benefit from these great insights that Herman provided to us. And See you once again at the next episode of Productivity Mastery. Stay safe.
Thank you.